And as I mentioned before, I doubt it's going to be soft because I think the margin landing is going to be hard. And if companies are willing to accept it, then and not lay off people, then the economy will not go into a recession. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think they're going to cut labor because the full impact of monetary policy has yet to be felt.
In this video, we look at Cathie Wood's disturbing analysis of the state of the economy. She explains that despite what headline inflation seems to be saying, all economic indicators are screaming that the economy is very fragile and that a real recession akin to the 2008-2009 crisis might be looming. She doubles down by talking about how current monetary policy is so prohibitive that Chairman Powell used the term restrictive to describe it. While she thinks the House acknowledging the problem is a good sign, she strongly believes there's still trouble on the horizon, especially in the labor market. She talks about how unemployment is bound to skyrocket, in part due to AI taking some jobs and also due to company margins shrinking. Overall, Cathie thinks the economic future is grim.
We got a downgrade. Fitch downgraded government debt this week. And some economists are treating that with alarm, and others, including strategists, are treating it with a yawn. And the truth is probably somewhere in between, as is usually the case. It really is a sign that our spending, the government spending, in the last 5-6 years has just been out of control. And my reaction to it is, hopefully this is a warning to the legislature and politicians generally that, the spigot is going to have to stop. And it's interesting, as I look in the GDP accounts at the government line, it's actually shrunk as a share of GDP, and most of the spending is not in the GDP report. GDP is production of goods and services in the U.S. economy. And a lot of the spending has moved off into social programs, which are not part of GDP, like, say, defense would be. So I think that topic is going to gain a lot of currency. Maybe they'll skip through it over the election year and campaign season, as they usually do. But I do think Fitch is warning us that we're going to have to deal with this issue in one way or another. The other thing that I think more and more people are discussing is what Milton Friedman taught everyone. That is, monetary policy impacts the economy over, and these are variable time periods. I think at times he used 6 months to 18 months. Well, right now we're at about that 18-month period, and we haven't hit a clear-cut recession. We've had rolling recessions, certainly housing and autos, manufacturing, and so forth, but we haven't hit the big one, the recession. And in fact, what's happening, to many people's surprise, is inflation is coming down faster than they have expected. A lot of people were of the view, like Larry Summers, and I think he's still there, that we are closer to a 70s style inflation than most people think. We disagree entirely, and many people who follow Larry and others are surprised to see inflation coming down so quickly. And so we're hearing talks of the Goldilocks economy. Goldilocks economy meaning a soft landing in response to monetary policy and inflation coming down to that 2% area. And then we're on our merry way. But if monetary policy, money, interest rates do impact the economy over an 18-month period, well, here we are. If this is the start, what could that mean? Well, it could mean a couple of things. How would we get our soft landing? Well, if prices went down and companies were willing to accept lower margins without firing people. Right now they're hoarding people, and we can see that from the latest employment report. But if they were willing to accept much lower margins as prices come down, then I think we'd have a soft landing because the unemployment rate would not go up. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm very pleased to see inflation doing what we thought it was going to do, but it only means that monetary policy is that much tighter. And I do think that companies now grappling with margin pressure are going to start making tough decisions about employment, especially if the grips of monetary policy get stronger as real interest rates go up. You know, inflation coming down, interest rates coming down. It's looking over whatever the Fed is doing or saying now and is basically saying, hey, these inflation rates are coming down so rapidly that the Fed will have to follow them, especially now that Chairman Powell has used the word restrictive in terms of monetary policy. That is a setup. And as I mentioned before, I doubt it's going to be soft because I think the margin landing is going to be hard. And if companies are willing to accept it, then and not lay off people, then the economy will not go into a recession. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think they're going to cut labor because the full impact of monetary policy has yet to be felt. If it's an 18-month lag, up to an 18-month lag, we could be, given that the last rate increase was in the last 10 days, we could be experiencing the impact of tight monetary policy for the next 18 months.
So far, Kathy has talked about the instability of the economy and how a major recession seems inevitable. In the following section, she turns her attention to the job market and how AI is affecting it. Her opinions are corroborated by recent statements made by Chairman Powell, who also believes that while inflation has dropped, he agrees that the job market and economy will take hits for the foreseeable future.
In the technology space, it's very interesting. We're continuing to hear and read about job losses there. And in listening to the earnings reports of this season, I think the technology companies, especially those in Silicon Valley, seem to have all gotten the same message, which is, you know what? AI is so powerful and is going to introduce so much efficiency and productivity that we should lay people off because we will keep our competitive edge that way. Sure, the advertising market was a reason, a soft online marketing and advertising was a reason last year, but they're continuing to shed jobs as some of those indicators come back in terms of online advertising picking up a bit. And I do think this sentiment is going to cascade through many industries. We think artificial intelligence is applicable to all industries and bringing in efficiencies and productivity gains. So we think that's also going to become a major source of loosening in the labor market. We will know when that's happening from initial unemployment insurance claims. They have started up and they had gone up to 250 to 260,000 from roughly 180,000. And now they've backtracked to 225,000. So we don't see this full blown, hey, we better keep our efficiencies up, especially if we can't rely on pricing anymore and lay some people off.
In summary, it's evident that inflation is still too high but coming down gradually. Unfortunately, the market is very delicate. Unemployment is bound to get significantly worse, partly because of AI, but largely because the economy can no longer handle it. It's already begun with job openings in August being the lowest since March of 2021. Overall, the state of the economy is fragile and rough days are coming. To see the latest in crypto news, watch this video here.